Welcome back to the blog. And for those of you who are new here, I'm Samantha, travel writer and travel lover. Important for you to know because in today's video blog post, I'm sharing with you my favorite way to have traveled in the last couple of years. My car. I have used this car to travel the last 2 to 3 years all over the United States. Traveling for extended periods of time like I have done already requires you to be sort of a minimalist. You can't fit everything you own into 1 or 2 suitcases. But having had my car with me, I've had a little bit more room to bring sort of the luxuries while traveling across the United States. Traveling in the United States also isn't exactly set up for public transportation, meaning backpacking culture isn't as widely accepted here as it is in other countries, which is why having a car is so convenient when you're traveling in this country. This car has just been so good to me in my last couple of years of traveling, and I want to share with you how I've set it up and how I've managed to travel for so long with just this vehicle. So let me give you the tour. Okay, quick disclaimer before I start this little car tour. When you're traveling in your vehicle and essentially living out of it, it does tend to get a bit messy. So just bear with me through everything I'm going to show you. I'm going to try and make this really realistic for you guys, but also not quite as embarrassing as to show you all of my piles of trash. Here she is on the outside, just parked in my driveway. She's a little dirty from a couple storms that we've had recently. She's small, but durable and surprisingly spacious. You guys will see that once we get back inside. Okay, let's just start right here in the driver's side seat. This is sort of my view whenever I'm traveling, steering wheel, the whole works. You guys get it. We're gonna move over here to the driver's side door and this little pocket over here where I keep a couple of essentials whenever I'm traveling. I have hand sanitizer, perfume, and lotion. These are just really nice to have on hand whenever I'm driving long distances. You never know when your hands are going to end up getting a little bit dirty, when you're going to end up needing to leave the car for a bit after hours of traveling, and whenever your hands are just going to end up being a little dry and annoying, which happens to me a lot. So the lotion is an absolute must. These are just a couple of gloves I found on the floor, so pay no attention to that. Over here on this side, we have this little pocket area between the driver's side and the passenger side. This is where I keep my sunglasses. I have a couple of pens here, some paper. This is kind of just almost like a junk drawer. I end up throwing a lot of things over here, so I'm surprised it's not as messy as I thought it would be. This is also where I plug in my charger to keep my phone charged from hours of driving. Another absolute must. This charger also activates this fun little screen that I have here. This is probably my favorite thing just about this car that I got specifically for long-term traveling. When I knew I was going to be traveling for a long time, this was one of the things that I loved about this car and one of the biggest reasons I got it for traveling. This has the sort of smart setup in my car where when you plug your phone in, it connects you to your maps. So this whole little area here, your music, and your phone calls. For some reason I never use that feature, but the first two alone are more than worth it for me to have this. I absolutely love it. And then you have your normal setups that you would in any car, your music, air conditioning, you guys get it. Okay, now I'm gonna move you guys to the passenger side. So this is a view of what my passenger side seat looks like whenever I'm traveling. Sorry, I'm filming this outside, so there are a couple of cars passing by. Bear with me, I'll try to make this part quick. So there's usually a lot of stuff over here, and it's not typically set up for somebody to come travel with me, but as a solo traveler, I'm usually alone anyway. But that's okay because I do have this little guy right here. That's Barry Oso. He travels with me. Thanks for the companionship, Barry. Down here is where I keep my backpack. This is like my day pack for when I'm hiking, and I'm usually bringing it with me whenever I'm staying in hotels and Airbnbs too. It has my laptop. Sometimes I keep toiletries in here, a lot of my work stuff for the most part, and always a change of clothes just in case something happens to my main suitcase, which usually isn't the case when you're driving versus when you're flying and checking luggage in, but you never know. This bag, kind of messy, but this is where I keep all of my souvenirs. I'm not usually a big souvenir person, but I do like to collect one thing for my travels, and that is magnets. Here's a magnet I got from Indiana, and this is another one that I got from Santa Monica. Over here on the actual seat is where I keep a couple of books. I don't read them while I'm driving, but sometimes if I need to pull over and take a little bit of a rest to stretch my legs, I like to pull out a book to sort of entertain myself for a little bit. Just gives me something else to do than just driving for multiple hours. I also keep my bag, wallet, cards, all the works in the passenger seat as well, just for easy access. And then back here, I like to keep my jackets. There's just one hanging here right now, but I usually have a couple over here. Okay, now that I've shown you the front seats of the car, it's time to move on to the back seats of the car. This is where I keep a lot of the not absolute essentials, but the things that are nice to have on hand just in case. This is stuff like blankets or snacks. Now, keep in mind, it's not quite as full back here as it normally is when I'm traveling because I'm not currently on a long road trip. But I'm gonna try and make sense of it to you exactly how busy it can get back here. This is the behind the passenger seat area. And I'm gonna start right here in this little pocket that's actually right behind the passenger seat. Here I keep a small first aid kit, some extra Lysol and Clorox wipes, and this scraper for any kind of like ice situation that the car might have. These are just some quick and handy tools that are available. I obviously have a toolkit and everything you would need for like a spare tire sort of situation in the back. Now I'm going to move to the actual seat that's back here. Again, this is behind the passenger seat. Typically here is where I keep all of the kitchen equipment. Right now there's just this cooler, and imagine it being filled with an ice pack and some sort of semi-cold drinks. I don't typically fill this up with actual ice just because it's kind of a hassle to find ice every day and then empty out the melted water the next. So I typically just travel with ice packs. They don't work as effectively as actual ice, but for the kind of travel I do, it works just fine. And I typically end up staying at Airbnbs and hotels every other place that I go anyway, so then you can kind of recool those packs whenever you are in a place with a refrigerator. This cooler is the only thing here right now, but again, typically I keep a lot of other kitchen equipment, specifically camping kitchen equipment. I have been camping a lot recently, so I like to have a camping stove, which I typically keep either here on the floor or behind the cooler, and then a lot of pots, pans, plates, cups, things like that that I might need. I also keep another bag of snacks here that could be filled with ingredients that I cook with, or just like chips and things that I can have while I'm driving. Another thing that I keep down here in this area are my trash bags. Usually there's just your typical trash bag that you would normally put in your house, like the big ones with the drawstring. I keep one of those back here and kind of like a beat up paper bag for all of my recyclables. And I just try to empty that out whenever I can. Now we're moving on to the driver side area. Down here on the floor behind the driver's seat, again, excuse the mess, but I typically keep my shoes back here. These aren't shoes that I travel with, these wedges. This is just what happened to be back here right now at the time, but typically I just have like sandals or spare hiking shoes back here. Then I have this kind of sun shield. When I'm traveling in the summer, this is really nice to have whenever I have the car parked, or if I just need to take a break at a rest area. I kind of just put this up. It blocks the front windshield from the sun, giving me some nice shade. These are also like sunshades, except they go on these windows. I have 4 of them for all of the kind of side windows here in the car. This again is super useful to have when I'm at like a rest area and maybe the sun is just beating down so hard from one of the side windows and I need a little bit of reprieve from that. I'll put it up while I'm taking a little bit of a break. Or if I end up car camping somewhere, it's nice to have these up so that people can't just be looking in your window. Now, another thing that I don't have back here right now that I didn't get to show you, but that I usually have when I'm traveling for extended periods of time, are blankets and pillows. And I keep those things back here behind the driver's seat. I have these for whenever I am camping or even just car camping. You never know at times what your situation is going to be when you're essentially living out of your car. So it's nice to have these things as sort of a backup if I end up rocking up at a place and I don't have an accommodation and I either need to sleep in my car or find a quick campsite. It's just nice to have these amenities with you. I will say that I don't typically keep a lot in this seat behind the driver's area because I usually pull down the seat and end up camping out here whenever I have to sleep in my car. Car camping is not for everybody. I will say it's not for people who are not as fond of adventure or have higher standards for the place that they're sleeping. Your car will never be your most comfortable sleep, and the first couple of times you do it, it can be a little bit scary or uncomfortable. So just make sure you're doing everything legally, of course, and within your comfort zone. I am currently sitting in the trunk of my car, and as I was preparing to show you guys what I keep back here when I'm traveling, I honestly decided against it because there is a lot of stuff back here. So I'm just gonna pull a couple things to show you I think you should keep in your car if you end up deciding to road trip for extended periods of time like I have. One of the things that I think everybody should have in their car, even if you're not traveling for a long period of time, is an umbrella. This is kind of a really long and big one. I keep this in my car. I've rarely ever had to use it, but it can keep 2, maybe even 3 people dry whenever there's sort of a storm situation going on. I always like to travel with my rain jacket anyway, just in case, but you can never be too safe. Another sort of random item that I like to travel with is this little fan. It can be charged. This is where you plug it in. And sometimes I just charge it here in my car or in my hotel, Airbnb, whatever my situation is. But I really like this. It's got 3 levels of speed, kind of like a low, medium, high sort of situation. But if you're traveling in the summer, this is really nice to have. It can keep you cool if you happen to be car camping, or maybe you're a hiker like myself and want to be kept cool on the trails. This is one of my best purchases while traveling, kind of my best random purchases, and I highly recommend it for anybody else. After mentioning a couple of the random things that I have back here in my trunk, I realized that a lot of them actually have to do with camping. Traveling can get expensive, specifically your accommodation. So if you're an outdoors person and don't mind a couple of nights outside, then I highly recommend considering camping for a few of your stays. So a couple of the things that I keep back here have camping sort of purposes, like a tent, some camping chairs, a hammer. Additionally, of course, I also keep my suitcase back here, my super big one with all of my clothes and other things like that. I also keep a big plastic tub in here, the kinds that people usually use for things like storage, and I keep stuff like extra trash bags, extra toiletry items like big containers of shampoo or body wash, just stuff that I don't need consistently with me, but if you're traveling for multiple months at a time, it's kind of just nice to have those things. And that's what I keep in my car when I'm traveling. I've honestly been so fortunate to be able to travel in such a reliable vehicle all over the United States. Most travelers really only have the bags in their hands and the clothes on their backs. So whatever I can fit in this car, I will, for the sake of comfort and convenience. I know this video was a little bit different from a couple of the others that I've released. I hope regardless that you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to be able to film more videos for you guys that are kind of real time out in the world and not just me talking at you from my office or even from my car. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the blog to get more content like this. This season, I'm going to be releasing a lot more travel related content. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on a single travel related post. If you happened to miss anything, don't worry about going back through the video. I've listed all of the things that I talked about that I keep in the car when I'm traveling down in the actual blog post. I'm so happy you guys watched the video and read the post, and I'm so excited to show you guys what I have in next week's video. I'll see you then. Bye!